think one of the biggest problems with camera gear is that everyone essentially has the same thing. We all have great cameras, great gimbals, great lights, and clinically sharp lenses. Gear should only be a means to an end, but I also think that making your image feel unique also has its place. And if a certain piece of gear can help you do that, I think that's cool. So one way that I've decided to spend my money is collecting vintage lenses that not a lot of people own. I feel like most filmmakers collect the old Soviet lenses, the Canon FDs, the Super Tachomars, and even the more coveted Contacts and Leicas. But I wanted to go a different route and collect some of these old, cheap Vivitar vintage primes. So some of these are kind of well known, while others are a little more like hidden gems. So I'm going to go over the 4 that I have collected from least favorite to most. This Vivitar 35mm f2.8 is insanely cheap, like $25 in most cases. 135 is a great portrait focal length, and it really blows out the background for shots of people. At 2.8, it's kind of soft, so I typically stop it down to around f4 when I can. One thing to note is that I have adapted all of these Vivitar lenses to Canon EF mount, but the ones that I own are adapted from M42 and OM mount. I may look into a telephoto zoom at some point soon, but for now, this 135 does the trick. So this lens is kind of strange because I love it, but I'm not sure if I love the image because the lens is actually like this, or if because I got a copy that's kind of broken. I got this lens for like 30 bucks, and upon arriving at my door, I noticed that the focus ring was loose. But for 30 bucks, I really didn't care. It still focused fine, and the image out of it looks very unique. It kind of gives like a swirly bokeh type of look to my images, and the softness of this lens creates a nostalgic image that reminds me of simpler times. So quick intermission, I just wanted to show you the rig that I used to shoot the intro to this video. So the camera that I used was my little Lumix S9, and I adapted all of these lenses with this Photodiox ND throttle, which has a variable ND filter built into it, and that's how I was able to control the exposure outside. And that was really nice because it meant that I didn't have to keep screwing on and off a variable ND on the front of the lens. I could just switch out the lenses from this adapter and be able to control the exposure. So again, all of these lenses are converted to EF, and I have these Outlast 77mm step-up rings on all of these lenses, so they're all adapted to a 77mm filter size. Okay, so I think the most popular lens in my little lens collection would probably be this 28mm f2.5. This thing has definitely got a vibe to it. So this lens will give you crazy flares, and it's actually a little bit faster than most 28mm with a aperture of f2.5, whereas most of the time you'll see this focal length at about an f2.8. This 28mm definitely has a little bit of a cult following behind it, so I'm not the first one to talk about this lens. And I think that's for pretty good reason. If you were only gonna buy one of the lenses in this set, I would definitely say this 28mm is a pretty strong contender. So this lens, because of its popularity, will probably run you a little bit more, anywhere from about 60 to 120 bucks. Okay, this lens may not actually be a secret, but I heard about it while listening to the Wandering DP podcast, and I've been searching for a deal ever since. This is the 17mm f3.5 by Vivitar, but like many of these off-brand lenses, it was released by brands like Tokina as well. This lens gives a very unique perspective with decent sharpness in the middle and a great fall off in the out of focus areas. This lens was the most expensive in my set, costing around 160 bucks. Still way cheaper than most modern full frame lenses. I think old wide angles like this one are one of the biggest advantages of shooting with these new, very sharp full frame cameras. It gives us the opportunity to take some of that sharpness away with lenses that were made before even I was born. Something that often happens when anyone on YouTube starts talking about vintage lenses, the price of those lenses go up and the availability goes down. But honestly, I can't really imagine that happening with these Vivitar lenses. This was kind of an off-brand, and I don't think that it was necessarily a brand that most professional photographers sought after back in the day. So I think with these, adding a unique look to your videos doesn't have to be super expensive or difficult. And I actually think that having an imperfect image is kind of the entire point of collecting older vintage lenses. So I would say don't be afraid of buying some old quirky lenses that maybe you've never heard of before, because it honestly could be what sets your images apart from everybody else's. Hope you enjoyed this video. I think that's all I have for you. Vai com Deus, and I'll see you next time. Bye.